while I can't guarantee you that stock is ever going to be seen as a $60 stock, if you bought a good company, you are always an owner of a good company. Not all companies go up. There's companies like Disney that are really great companies that make a lot of money, and their investors have been losing money for many years. How can they make themselves feel better? Well, you own a percentage of Disney, and if you've been consistently dollar cost averaging into the stock, you've still got wealth. You just have wealth that did not grow, but you still got wealth. The first step toward wealth is actually putting money in a bucket and saving the money. And then if you're lucky, it'll grow. If you're unlucky, it doesn't grow, but you still have more wealth than the people who didn't invest at all, who didn't even try, who put nothing inside the bucket. So really, I think that looking at the past and believing that the past is an indicator of the future is just a tricky business to get into. You got to be real careful because a lot of people get disappointed that way and very surprised. I guarantee you that if this market drops by 5 or 10% again, or 15% or 20%, there's going to be people that keep on buying the dips forever and ever and ever on certain stocks because they just say, well, if it was at 70 last week and now it's at 50, I mean, this is such a bargain because every number, psychologists say that every number we see, we compare it to another number. So if you see 50 and you used to see 70, then you say, oh my gosh, that's such a cheap shot, a cheap stock, right? But there's no rule saying that that $50 stock has to go back to being a $70 stock. And if you keep playing with that, then what can happen is that stock can become a $40 stock, a $30 stock, a $20 stock, and literally whittle down to nothing. So just be really careful. And so one way around that is when you're investing, you want to think in terms of portfolios, not individual stocks. Individual stocks are incredibly risky. Portfolios have less risk, and also you want to sort of just understand that the quality of the company matters more than almost anything, right? So if I own McDonald's and McDonald's goes from 112 to 102, I still own McDonald's. I'm still, we still selling cheeseburgers. I'm getting dividends, maybe things like that. And also, I have the possibility that their earnings numbers could come in good, and we go right to some number that's much higher than what it was before. The other thing too is if I'm invested in McDonald's and I'm consistently dollar cost averaging into McDonald's, my average buy-in price keeps dropping every time I buy because I just have a belief in my long-term relationship with McDonald's. Every time I buy, if the price is dropping, I'm buying at a lower and lower price. That was how my cannabis investment went from negative to positive. I've told you all this story about YOLO. I started buying YOLO when it was in the 20s. It's a cannabis ETF, and then it went to the teens. I was buying in the teens. When went down to 10, I bought at 10. When it went to 5, I bought at 5. It went down to like $1.50 or $2. I kept buying because it was a diversified portfolio of cannabis companies. I said, okay, well, I think cannabis is going to eventually improve. And so literally the stock did all it did was go from 130 to 350 or something, right? And so it never got anywhere near the original buying price. That's the point I want to make. It never got back to the 20s. I don't know where YOLO is right now, but it never got back to the 20s from what I understand. I haven't looked at it. Let me see where it is right now just so I can give you factual information. But what happened was what allowed that investment to go from unprofitable to profitable is that I kept on buying. And because I kept buying, then what happened was that because it kept going down, 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 my average buying price kept getting lower and lower and lower until I got to the point where it suddenly became a profitable investment. It was almost like a freaking financial miracle to some extent because you would never think that if my original buying price was in the 20s that I could make a profit by the stock going past 3. So here's what YOLO looks like.